I'm very excited. Are you excited?
Is this gonna fly in China?
Make good characters.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Justin. And I'm Kyle. And we are here at our local movie theater to see Transformers 1. I'm very excited. Are you excited? I'm excited. You're excited enough for both of us, I think. We don't normally do things like this on our channel, but since it is Transformers, I think we'll make an exception and we'll have a after-movie thoughts. Kind of not a review, I would say.
No, just how we liked it.
Yeah, well,
So a review.
Well, I don't really know anything about it. I avoided any kind of spoiler or even non-spoiler reviews, so I'm going in it pretty blind. All right, let's do this. Just gotta snack up first. That's pretty convenient. Oh. I am so glad they put this on the outside. They used to make the workers do this, and now you can just. That's right, I guess. Okay, let's do this.
Okay, we're back. We just saw Transformers 1, and first thing I have to say, it's awfully pretentious of them to call it Transformers 1, like they're expecting a 2.
I don't know. What are they going to call the second movie?
Transformers 1, 2?
1, 2?
Or just 2?
Transformers 1 again, but different?
This is spoiler-tastic, not
Yeah.
spoiler-free.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna tell you everything. If you have not seen it and you want to see it, I would say thumbs up. Go see it.
Yes, short of the long is it's a pretty good movie. It is kind of intense. They advertise it as kind of a jokey, funny movie, and there are jokey and funny parts. It does get pretty intense.
I was walking into it thinking it was going to be Mario, but Transformers, and it's not.
No, it's got kind of dark parts, dark story, and intense action. Very good action.
Don't see it if you're expecting Mario, I guess. If you
Yes.
want some really lighthearted.
It's not scary, but it's intense. I'd say like a thrill ride.
All right, so spoilers from here on out.
Turn it off if you haven't seen it. Go ahead and go see it. If you have even passing interest in this movie, go ahead and go see it because it's good.
Spoilers begin now.
Can you believe Megatron was the bad guy?
Oh my goodness, I didn't see that coming.
So where do you want to start?
The logo, I thought the Hasbro Entertainment logo was really cool.
Oh, the new where it's just the shadow and it changed. Yeah, I hadn't seen that before.
I hadn't seen that before. Is this the first thing that they've used that for?
As far as I know.
Let us know in the comments if you've seen it anywhere else, if it's on the websites or anything else.
So it's weird that we start with that.
Well,
Such
it's
an
the beginning.
action-packed movie. Yeah, it is
You
the beginning.
said we'll start,
We'll start at the beginning, okay. It's a retelling, and I didn't know where this is going to go in the video, but I thought it's interesting how the Transformers franchise, you can reboot something, and it's fine. Like, Transformer fans are used to that. I had mentioned that in a previous video. But I'm thinking if you did this with any other franchise, if this was Star Wars, and you just totally redid it, with new casting, new characters,
Yeah.
people would go nuts.
Transformers fine. James Bond is fine to do that. It has to be original continuity.
Yeah, we want the original actors who are now like 80. But it is the story of the miners.
The line continuity story, right?
Sort of.
Okay.
It is tweaked a bunch because the TCOG thing that I'm trying to remember, I don't think that was in it. That was a neat thing that was added, like another power he held over people.
Tells the story of Optimus and Megatron. They're friends at first. They're both miners. I think Orion Pax was a data clerk.
Yeah, he was
originally.
higher class. He worked in the city.
And Megatron was lower class, but they didn't do that. They're all miners. Basically, Sentinel Prime pulls people's sparks out when they're born.
TCOGs.
They're TCOGs. Sorry, they're TCOGs out when they're born, and then they have to mine.
Yeah, and
because
that oppresses society.
he struck a deal with the Quintessons. Quick thing that we forgot to mention about the Quintessons, the character design specifically on the Quintessons, I thought they were really, really cool. They were either fully organic or techno-organic and very crab-like. Even their ship was crab-like. When they moved, they had like gooiness and stuff.
Yeah, they had tentacles and everything, so we didn't know if these were the original thought behind the Quintessons, where they're just metallic beings, or they were wearing armor, more like the aliens in Independence Day. I like the idea of them being potentially not of Cybertronian origin, like the original Quintessons are, right? Because isn't that the lore?
Yes, and in the context of the movie, it didn't matter.
They were just like, they never spoke. They just had their alien language
They're just
or whatever.
big monsters.
Yeah, they were really scary and really cool. And then it also kind of explained where all the grass and the organic stuff came from. It probably fell off their ship from their
Maybe, yeah.
homeworld. And then certain bots, like the elk bots or deer bots, learned to turn that organic material into Energon.
So I kind of felt like there's a story there that was
Maybe,
just
yeah.
done visually.
They're not in the movie very much. They're kind of like the shadowy bad guy. You see him for one scene, and that was it.
A couple scenes. You saw the ships, but you saw them.
Yeah, there was the ships that was chasing them, but when you actually see the Quintessons, it was just one scene. They kept it focused on the evils of Sentinel Prime.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled review.
And it's communist China, I guess. I don't know.
Kinda. I wasn't thinking that, but now that you said that,
I had that in the back of my head. It's like, is this gonna fly in China? Isn't this kind of like holding up a mirror a little bit? Are the Chinese gonna see it that
I
way?
guess that's one way of looking at it.
I was thinking that the whole time. I don't know. The oppressive government, the oppressive leaders. The whole time I was thinking like, they're banking on this being successful in the Asian market.
Well, yeah, that is weird, but tangent here. But in Sentinel's point, he was hiding the fact that there were still Quintessons. Whereas, like, if it was true to like what China's doing, he'd be saying, "Oh, the Quintessons are out there. We have to stay inside and we can't leave."
He was doing that with the Matrix.
He was doing that with the Matrix. We were looking for the Matrix, but his thing was, we have already defeated the Quintessons, and I'm out there searching for the Matrix. When it was really he was striking a deal with the Quintessons.
And once again, Sentinel Prime is the butt. He's the bad guy. He's a good guy who's also a bad guy. They've used that before. Transformers Animated, most famously.
Yes, Sentinel Prime was a fantastic character in Transformers Animated. He was not
A full-on bad guy.
Yeah, he was mostly just a jerk, but he wasn't like this evil menace like he is in this film. Sentinel Prime was the head leader. He was just lying to everybody. He had his inner cronies who knew the truth. His elite guard, they didn't call it that, but basically special forces who protected him. Those are the only people who knew the truth.
What did you think about the characters?
The acting was stellar. These are talented actors, just the direction. A lot of actors, when they give bad performances, that's not really the actor, I feel like. It's the director who didn't say, "Oh, that's good," or let's do another take.
I do feel on the tangent of voice acting, you call it stunt voice actors?
Stunt casting.
Stunt casting?
Yeah.
I'm kind of sick of that. I would prefer if they got veteran, really good, no-name people who are used to animation. I don't understand, well, I do understand, why they get these really big-name actors to play these one-off characters. Some of them, like Chris Pratt, does amazing. I felt like the guy who did Megatron wasn't bad, but wasn't great. I feel like they could have went into some veteran voice actors for cartoons and got somebody better.
I kind of disagree with you there. I thought Megatron was really good. He was a very different take, but I felt like all the actors did very well. Even Steve Buscemi was kind of doing a Starscream.
Yeah, I don't like the stunt casting. I think it's unnecessary. I think people who are going to see this movie don't give a flip if Scarlett Johansson is voicing somebody or not.
But
I mean, it'd be interesting to go to an alternate dimension and find it where they don't do stunt casting and see if the revenue is the same.
character design was different. They were a little more rounder. The colors were good.
Transformers 1 does have its own aesthetic.
They usually do that for every show.
Until you got to the really strange guys like Soundwave and Shockwave, everyone kind of looked the same. Like, they were recognizable enough, but everyone, like you said, was kind of rounded. They looked like they more fit into the same race and the same world. And then when you got into the more oddballs.
Well, I think that was the T-Cog. When they didn't have a T-Cog, they were more like protoforms.
Yeah.
They were more similar. They were all smaller.
I'm sure that was intentional, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was visually intentional, so they could make that distinction. And then when they got their T-Cogs, not only did they get larger, but they got more individual.
Yes. And they looked more and more like the standard cells.
They're leggy, small bodies, long arms and legs. That seems to transform when you're walking on it. Then you probably want very long legs.
What did you think of that when they went to the surface and they didn't explain kind of why the surface was transforming?
Like, I like that. They didn't have to. You don't have to explain everything.
I feel that way too.
You can just do a visual on the surface when they finally get to the surface, because, you know, they have to hide everything. Sentinel has to hide everything. You see the landscape actually transform. And you don't know why. They don't explain it at all. It's just they show it and it's doing it.
And it's organic.
And there are plants. It seems to be growing on top of the metal planet. Like, it looks like rock, but it's not. It's kind of a mixture between rock and metal.
Yeah.
Even when they're mining, it wasn't like rock. It was like rock and metal, like almost iron ore.
Raw ore, yeah. But there were wild, bestial, non-sentient animals.
And
too. I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
so there's a whole ecosystem up there.
It's so cool, and they started that in Cyberverse.
Okay.
There was a unicorn. When Bumblebee stumbled on it, it transformed into a rocket and flew away. Add it in. It's It's great. We love it. We love it, Hasbro.
How about characterization, personalities, and stuff?
It was different. Orion Pax is typically the safe one, and here at the beginning, he was the kind of the instigator, the troublemaker. And D16, who, spoiler alert, turns into Megatron, he was the one always saying, no, we have to follow the rules. I'm fine with my lot in life. I'm going to stay here so I can hopefully get a promotion. There wasn't much for these guys. Like, were they ever going to get a TCOG? Was that ever a thing?
There was a history of them getting promoted, so maybe the idea is one day,
if you worked, 10,000 years in the mine.
Yeah.
But it's only been 50 years. 50 cycles, they said. This mining culture has existed. And then he had all these bots who never knew that they were born with TCOGs, and it was taken from them.
Again, that was another thing I thought of the Chinese government, because citizens in China and places like that have ranking in their citizenship. You have access to certain things based on your ranking in your citizenship.
And where you were born, too.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, is this gonna fly in China? I don't know. Okay, was B annoying, I guess is what most people want, because he was the comedic character, played by Key, right, from Key and Peele.
He was fine. He's a little over the top, but I think that was what they were going for.
Yeah.
He did a fine job. He's pretty funny. He does do some kind of weird stuff.
Just for comedy's sake.
Just for comedy's sake.
It's almost stretching a little too far out of the character.
It's a little too far, but they're short. They don't run a joke into the ground.
Yes, I was gonna say that.
And so they'll take it right up to where it's like, okay, this is about to not be funny, and then they stop. So it works. In the context of the film, they get up to that line and they stop.
I thought they were going to make Alita 1 Supergirl boss, Mary Sue, and they do, but they do pull back. She wasn't perfect at everything. She did step back and let
she saw that
Optimus,
she was wrong.
A hard-nosed rule follower, ended up she being wrong about that.
And she admitted to it.
Yeah.
And she gave that great speech. Very good writing.
She wasn't like immediately good at transforming or fighting.
Right.
She had to figure it out like everyone else.
Right. So you see a lot of that in tropes now, but they didn't do that. They're like, no, these are all the same. They're coming from the same environment.
Yeah.
And so it worked. It worked really well.
What did you feel about Megatron? We haven't talked about him yet.
His heel turn, it was fast, but it was understandable. I felt like he had a lot of anger in him. He trusted Sentinel Prime. He thought he was the ultimate good guy, looking out for everybody. And when he turned heel, it was pretty quick. At the same time, it was understandable. Because his greatest hero turned out to be the baddest bad guy.
Yeah, and he was corrupted by the power. Once he got the TCOG, he was like,
look what I can do.
This was held from me this whole time?
For no reason. So my entire life was a lie.
Yeah.
And he had this thing where he was defying Sentinel when he was about to be executed, and he just stood up and looked him straight in the face and told him, I have nothing left to lose.
I thought that was so cool.
It was awesome.
Such a Megatron moment. I agree, it was quick. I feel a little stronger about it. I feel like it was too quick. I felt like they should have had more little nuggets of anger very early in the movie when they were buddies. Like, you saw that come out a little more. You saw his infatuation with his hero, but you never saw, oh man, if you took that little emotion and dialed it up to 11, that's Megatron. I felt like he was totally neutral and happy with his lot in life.
He was not the troublemaker. He was a rule follower.
Yeah, and I didn't feel like, I don't know, I wanted maybe not defiance, but maybe some
just
anger or something to give us a clue that this is what he could become. And I felt like there wasn't enough of that, and his heel turn was a little too sudden to me. I thought they should have done a little more foreshadowing, or any foreshadowing. Because it was zero, in my opinion.
It was really quick. There was no foreshadowing. He basically found out his whole life is a lie, and then
went full evil.
He went full evil. He couldn't handle it, whereas Optimus and Alita and Bumblebee was just there.
Yeah,
but Optimus and Alita, they had this moment, they had this scene where they were just like, oh, can't believe this. And Optimus and Alita were, because of their personality, they were more like, oh, just distraught, just like crushed. Whereas Megatron had a different, or D16, he had more anger.
Even when he turned on Orion, it's like, that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yes.
The first time he got in his face, I was like, that There was no build up to that. Well, in general, I felt like there was a lot of build up. It was slow to get going. It was good though. It kept my attention, but
it wasn't boring at all.
No. When I say slow, I don't mean in a bad way. I guess I mean it's a nice simmer.
Yeah,
it's a nice simmer up to the moment. But then, like when he turns evil, then it's like, whoa! It's just he's evil all of a sudden.
He was very evil. Ryan was trying to talk to him and say, "Look, we need to pull back. We have the evidence to turn down Sentinel," and he was like, "No,
we're gonna kill him."
He said the only punishment he's going to get is death.
Yeah,
and that's how he was. And like you said, there was no build up to that personality.
Yeah.
The action is amazing. We didn't talk about that with the visuals.
Yeah.
The action is very well done, very well choreographed. I'd love to have a street that took me wherever I wanted to go.
Oh yeah, I loved how they used transformation as part of their transportation.
Culture. Yeah, just everything transforms.
Yeah,
it's part of their culture. It would have been
nice to see like the nightlife, the bars and stuff, but they didn't have time for all that. But it would have been maybe if they do a second movie to see a little more of what life is like on Cybertron. Maybe the beginning of the war or something could be the second movie if they do a second movie. Transformers 1, 2.
I hope so.
Are you
Transformers 1 again, but different.
That's right. I liked how Optimus got, when they got the T-Cogs from the Primes, they, upgraded so much, but then Megatron got the T-Cog to his hero, which is kind of an equivalent to the Matrix of Leadership, but for the bad guys. And it actually changed what he looked like, because Megatronus, and they say this more than once in the movie, he was the biggest, the baddest, he's the most popular, because he was the warrior of the group. He was the muscle. And they don't really go into the Primes
and he was huge.
More than that. Yeah, he was way bigger than the other Primes. So Megatron got bigger.
Or maybe he just had a giant head.
He's a bobblehead. So that was cool that, no, he doesn't have just any T-Cog. He has Megatronus's T-Cog, and that's why he calls himself Megatron. The speech where Optimus had, where he's rallying the miners, I felt like that's a Megatron thing. In the movie, it wouldn't have made sense, but I think in the lore, in the aligned continuity, Megatron is the one that's telling the dregs of society, the lowest class, to rise up.
Yeah,
but it was Optimus in this one, and I felt like...
Right, they flipped that.
It wouldn't have worked, because Megatron was all the way evil at that point in the movie, but I felt like that was Megatron's speech.
Well, the old Megatron, the original Megatron, whereas this one, like you said, it worked for this movie because Megatron's cronies were the old warriors. Yeah. And in this one, the cronies, the miners, were Megatron, turned in the Autobots.
And the whole part of Orion Pax arguing for peace and actually changing the hearts of the council, that didn't happen at all. He punched Megatron until he gave up.
So that was after he got the Matrix.
That was after he got the Matrix.
When it was happening, I was like, "This really convenient. There's a giant hole straight to the core of Primus." But then I thought, no, the whole plan to transform.
It was opening up for him. Yeah, it was calling him.
And Megatron, when he had Optimus by the hand after he Optimus jumped in front to save Sentinel, and Megatron couldn't believe that. And that's right before he turned full on evil.
And then he's like, "I'm tired of saving you." What?
Yeah, he just got tired. He was like, "I'm tired." He's like, stopping me from giving this guy what he deserves." Is basically what he said. Yeah. And he just threw him down, which is exactly what Primus wanted him to do, because he turned into Optimus Prime, and the Matrix of Leadership, which was absorbed by Primus, I guess, went to Optimus, and he was the one true Prime.
Yeah. The whole time I was waiting for Megatron to pull out the T-Cog out of... As soon as Sentinel Prime says, "I have Megatronuses," I was like, that's gonna not be there in a little while.
And the references. You saw so many characters from throughout the franchise.
Yes.
Mostly G1.
Elita 1 in the beginning, you don't have the touch or the power.
Oh, that was so good!
The Stan Bush reference.
And then one time, he's doing the jump with the rifle, and he does the pose from the 86 movie.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, it's so great!
So it's not a reference bombardment like the Mario movie, where every scene is like a reference. At one point, it's not crazy, but there are tons of characters in the background.
And
tons
what
of
I love, this is definitely its own thing. I love that about it. I feel like this is what the Michael Bay's movie should have been. It shouldn't have been live action. No humans, which is great, which I don't even know why people argue that. Oh, you need humans to make the human connection. No, make good characters and make them likable and have them have real struggles you can relate to. Not just because they're made of metal doesn't mean you can't relate to them.
It's like the Trolls movie. There's countless examples of shows that have a lot of connection with the characters, movies and stuff, and there are no human characters.
Yeah, you don't need
they're
humans.
human-like enough.
Right. They're talking.
Yeah,
it's close enough.
There's tons of like Zootopia. That argument is for really asinine people, I think. I understand why they did it in the original cartoon, because it was more adult to child relation rather than robot to human is why they did that.
Right, yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like that. It wasn't.
Plus, they were on Earth,
yeah.
and they had this human helping
It
them
made
out.
sense.
It
yeah.
made more sense, even
Okay.
though that show didn't make a lot of sense.
Okay.
But I loved it. I have not purchased a movie in years. I'm going to buy this movie when it comes out.
Okay. Get all those sweet extra
So,
features.
I just want the movie.
There-
I feel like if any movie deserves my money, it's this one.
Are you gonna get any figures?
I think I'm going to wait until they make maybe Voyagers or larger ones, because right now they're almost all deluxes.
Okay.
They released a pre-order for a Central Prime, a Voyager one, and he has the battle mode. So he'll go from robot to battle
Okay.
mode to his weird ship. And he looked pretty cool. I have a lot of Transformers.
Thumbs up. It's definitely not perfect, but it's really good.
Yes.
You'll have a good time. It is long. It's this long.
Okay.
Which is, wow, that is a time.
Yeah,
is a
that
time
is.
for a
Those are
movie to
numbers
last.
right there. If you have a passing interest in Transformers and you like thrilling movies, you'll like this.
Yeah.
And you don't have to know anything ahead of time, because they kind of start from scratch.
Yeah, my 10-year-olds sat through the whole thing.
That very
Fine.
beautiful movie.
Yeah, I love that depiction of Cybertron with light and
Yeah,
gold.
it wasn't
and-
dark. It wasn't gross.
Yeah, they have some kind of, they don't explain it, but there's some kind of artificial light they pump in because they're
Mm-hmm.
underground to protect themselves from the quintessons.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of unnatural light that they use to make it look
Yeah, they're
bright
just
and
told
cheery.
the surface is dangerous.
Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. You've heard it from someone who's a Transformer expensive button-up shirt. So you might be the first on the internet.
Now get out of here, you crazy kids.